I kind of forgot in that brief moment there that I'd hit live. I was kind of like, oh, I've got a few seconds before. Oh no, it actually is live. Hello. That's a bit of an interesting... there's nobody on live right now, but those of you who watch this on the recording will hopefully have a bit of a giggle at my expense just then. So I am just chickadee checking whilst you guys all arrive. I am checking that this is going live. Yes, it is. Fantastic. So say hi as you arrive. Whoever you are that are watching, do say hi. Let me know who's here so I can give you a shout out and a happy new year, oop oop, if that's the kind of thing that you like as well. So those of you who have been on the Confidence Conversations before will know that it's always a joy to know where you are. You just caught my surprise, Shelley. Let me just check that. I'm just going to experiment with something. I'm just going to turn my camera sideways and see if that makes a difference to... No, it won't let me. Okay. Facebook didn't like that. Oh, nearly switching you off then. Sorry, people. I'm usually far more professional than this, honestly. Oh, you get to see more of my office. There we go. Okay. So, hi, Shelley. Happy New Year to you. Hi, Joanne. Happy New Year to you as well. And also to Jane, who's saying, bring it on. Not quite sure what you're referring to, Jane. I'm assuming the year and whatever it is that you have planned or you're looking forward to. So, how are you all doing? Be great to find out. I've had some really... hey, Bev, Happy New Year. I had some really lovely messages over the last week of people saying how much they've missed this. Hey, Paul. Paul, Bev, Paul, you're on the same call. Say hi. A number of people saying how much they've been missing these and when am I back, and that's really lovely. It's nice to know that they are they're missed and that they're making a difference. But also, I've had quite a few emails and messages from people telling me, giving me an update as to what they've been doing with the information and how it's changing their lives and the difference that they're making. So if you are one of those people that you've watched a 1, 2 or all 100 and whatever it is videos that are on this page now, then that you've been finding the information useful, then please do leave a review on the page and let me know. You can message me direct on the page as well. Let me know what's happening for you, what's working, and what difference it's made for you. So we'll let Bev and Paul have their little hi to each other, which is very nice. Nice to have you both on here. So, usual kind of rules and usual structure to, I nearly said to the show this evening, which is that the please don't feel like you have to wait until you're invited to say hi or join in at all. Hi, Caroline. Or even comment on anything. If you've got anything that you want to share, then please make sure that you don't wait to be invited. You're more than welcome to put anything down. Excuse me. Throughout the time that we're on the call. So please don't feel like you've got to wait. Excuse me. And also, please feel free to invite people and let them know that this is on and that they may get something from it and they may enjoy it. So you can invite them, but you can do that privately, obviously, or you can tag them like you would do in anything on Facebook, or you can just share this directly to your page and say, I'm watching this, come and join me, or words of your own choosing, of course. So those of you that are joining now, just as everybody else is, do at least drop in and say hi. You don't have to. I'm not going to force people to be involved in conversations that they don't want to be, but it is nice to at least be able to give you a shout out and say hi. And also, as well as not waiting for the whole waiting to be invited to text or anything like that on message. Same with the I think I just saw a couple of people doing it beforehand. I need to move that because I can see myself out the corner of my eye, which is really quite distracting. Distracting myself. Yeah, same as with likes or hearts. As we go through the conversation this evening, if something resonates with you or you like it or it's making sense for you, then let me know by showing some thumbs or showing some hearts. Hey, Alan, how lovely to have you here. And let me know that it's making sense for you. Yeah, just let me know if it's making sense. If, however, something doesn't make sense, please don't use any of the other emojis. Not because I'm hypersensitive and don't want you to show me an angry or a sad face. It's just that if something doesn't make sense, then jot it down and just say, could you please explain that bit a bit more or in another way? And it helps for me to have a bit of a reference point, because there is a time delay between me speaking and is that Shilpi? I hope I'm saying your name right. If I'm not, I apologise. Hello anyway and welcome. I've lost my train of thought there. Yes, that's it. Yeah, don't use the other emojis, only because just send me a little message on here, as in underneath, so that I can then look back on what it is that you are wanting a further explanation, or if it doesn't make sense, and then we can have I can explain a little bit more. But because of the time delay, some people go, I don't get that bit. And for me, that bit could be about 20 seconds ago. And so it makes it quite challenging for me to try and think back as to what I said 20 seconds ago, to kind of thread that in. So if something isn't resonating with you, or it doesn't make sense, or if you would like further explanation, then please put that down there and just say, can you explain that bit and explain what you mean by that bit a little bit more. And for those of you that are practicing with those thumbs and those hearts right now, thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. So, where are we at? I don't know whether I don't know whether your Facebook feed has been similar to mine, but my Facebook feed, I haven't been on television very much at all, so I'm not sure what the TV is like. But I've been noticing on my Facebook feed that there's just this bombardment of, it's a new year, so it's got to be a new year, new you. You've got to change everything, and that's, you've got to go vegan. You've got to give up alcohol. Dry Jan. Everyone's got to do dry Jan. You've got to be out exercising. Sign up for this course. Do this bit of learning, and it's just this bombardment of all these different things that you need to do. And as I said in the email that I sent out earlier today, and somebody said to me last week that, it's just heading them into a sense of their perception of being overwhelmed and kind of thinking that their life is not right the way that it is, that they are inadequate the way that they are, because they've got to change everything and everything's not right, and it's not as, all of these different people are telling them to be. And to me, it's kind of like that moment in a movie where the record comes screeching, or the needle goes screeching across the record, and it's like that, stop. You don't need to do all, or in fact any of those things, if it's not appropriate for you. And I'm not for or against any of them. They're not right or not wrong. I've done very similar, whether it be detoxes or I didn't do dry Jan. I didn't drink for 2 years. I've done all of those, done a lot of those kinds of things. And it's not about whether they're right or wrong, but it is about, I think, about whether you are being sucked into a perception that if I change X, then everything will be okay. And very often, one of the reasons I think that we get overwhelmed is because we use big language. We use your everythings and all of this, and it's always going to be this way, or I have to get it. We make it so big that it seems like it's something that is too much. It's too big for us to digest, too big for us to take on board. And so quite often we then get caught up in this dialogue of then well, I'm inadequate, I'm not good enough, I haven't got that figure or that bank account or that house or that relationship, or my job's not that great, or I'm not eating in the way that they're telling me to, or all of these different things. And we start, it's kind of like we have this, we're hearing this ideal version of how life should be, or how we should be and how we should be showing up. And especially, I think the pressure and the intensity for this is lots of thumbs going across the screen. So I couldn't see who they were, but I'm assuming this is resonating with somebody, that this kind of ideal that gets built up is where we compare then how we are, or how we perceive we are in relation to that. And nobody's going to match up. Nobody is going to match up to this whole perfect, everything should be this way in this bubble kind of a way. And there's a part of us that knows that. There's a part of us that goes, yeah, I know that it's not that easy, and even if I had all of those things, that there'd still be things I want to sort out. But yet there's still a much bigger part of us that goes, yeah, but maybe, and I should. And before we know it, we can end up getting caught in this cycle of self-abuse, of believing that how and who and how we are is wrong. Does that make sense? And let me know, excuse me, let me know below, what are your thoughts? Have you been seeing, is it just my news feed, or is your news feed kind of coming up with those things as well? What are your thoughts? There's some immediate thumbs going across there. So thank you, whoever that is. But what are your thoughts around that realization of, or that seeing of how many goals we should be setting, and we should have a vision board done by this point, and all of these different things. And it's interesting, because being in the profession that I'm in as a coach, I work full-time in my practice, that it's fascinating listening to my inner dialogue, hearing my inner dialogue, that will see, for example, vision boards. And again, this isn't about whether something is right or wrong. And I've done vision boards in the past, but they're not something that resonate with me anymore, so I don't do them. And yet I can hear, because there's been loads of stuff last week rather, about vision boards and what the vision board should have and how to make your perfect vision board and blah, 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 blah. And I can hear my voice going, see, you're not a proper coach, you don't do a vision board. That's how my voice sounds, by the way, in my head. Is that I can hear that, and I know that if I indulge that, if I gave that attention, that I would then start to feel inadequate or worthless or useless or not good enough or imperfect, however you want to dialogue. I know that that's how I would feel if I gave that attention. So I just want you to know that I am aware of it for myself in a slightly different way. So Paul says it's a massive marketing ploy, Jules, which isn't out to support the individual. Yeah, I don't think it is, because ultimately the many of these industries, companies, businesses, organisations need us to. They perpetuate that belief of inadequacy, of not enough. If I can convince you that you are not enough, but I've got the solution for how you can feel enough, then my guess is that you might want it. But I don't want to give you the full feeling enough solution. I only want to give you half or 3/4 of it, because I don't want you to fully feel enough, because if I do that, then you're not going to need my service anymore. So there's this kind of like perpetual, I equated it the other week to makeup. And I'm fascinated with this whole painting the eyebrows on thing. I saw two extremely beautiful, I would say about 13-year-olds a couple of days ago. And to me, in my eyes, they looked like they had slugs on there. They were beautifully drawn. It's not that they weren't, but they were so thick and so dark. And the girls were so pale skinned, and they had like hair. It looked like two slugs. And I was thinking about it, it's like, when did this fascination become about eyebrows? And I was like, oh, okay, so a few years ago, it was more about the mascara and the particular type of mascara. And before that, oh, no, hang on, it was focused on the lips. Oh, no, hang on a second, then it was focused... It's that marketing ploy, it's that constant loop of keeping you hooked in, of needing more, and that perception of needing more. Caroline said, I know a lady who does slimming products, and just because I won't buy her products, costing a lot of money, she will ignore me, and it puts pressure on people. I do vision boards, but it's sticking to them. Yeah, and again, I'm not dissing vision boards. I actually encourage people to do them, especially if they've never done them before. But it is about what resonates with you. So please, if there's anything else that I've said that you want to comment on, then please do as I'm talking. But there are three. She says, double checking. Yeah, there are three things that, more than them being goal setting or more than them being action plans and striving towards, I actually, one of them I don't think I've mentioned on here before. The other two, in various ways, I definitely have in relation to other things, because it's the same things coming up over and over again. But the first one kind of relates to what I was saying about because it's not just, we can't just blame businesses, media, social media, other people for this idealized image that has been created that we're comparing ourselves to, because actually we've done that internally. We've done that internally as well for ourselves. We create this ideal image from a very, very young age of who we should be and how we should show up as the good girl or the good boy. And so therefore we have that internally. So it's not just about blaming the external world, because I think it would be very easy to get into that dialogue of, well, if there was no social media and if there was no photoshopping or if there were no diet plans. But actually, it's not just about that. It's about dealing with what's going on up here. And one of the ways that, as I say, I know I've said before, is asking yourself, how can I describe this differently? Or really, it's about looking at how are you currently describing it in order to be able to describe it differently. And more specifically, it's about describing, how am I describing myself to myself? How am I talking about me to me? Regardless of how I'm talking to people externally, how am I talking to me about me? Because so many of us done it, and these may not be the words that you use, but we've caught sight of ourselves as we've walked past a window, for example, and oh God, what do I look like? Oh, I can't believe I look like that. Do I really? Or we may have seen a photo of ourselves, and obviously that's far more prevalent now with cameras being so accessible on our phones. Oh, do I really look like that? How many of you won't even get in photos? I've got family members that actively try to avoid, and I'm very clever at trying to get them in the photo or catching them unawares. Or maybe you've caught sight of yourself in the bedroom mirror and waggled your belly or, tutted or done something where, and that perpetuates that vision of who you are. Internally, you're measuring that up against an external, another image, an idealised image. Don't eat red lentils, they're dangerous, they get stuck in your throat. That we're measuring that up against that idealised image, internal idealised image, which then means that we make who and how we are right now wrong, and that then we expect ourselves to make that change through self-abuse, through that self-criticism. Is this making sense? Is this resonating with you? Let's see if I can shift that red lentil. Because my internal discomfort over myself and I am going to feel unstuck, uncomfortable, fed up with myself. There's lots of thumbs and heart. Did I see a couple of hearts go across there? So it's obviously making sense. Thank you. If I'm feeling fed up, frustrated, annoyed, uncomfortable within myself, I can guarantee you it's coming from this perception of how I am. And that may be a physical thing, it may be a mental thing, it may be what's going on, my behaviours, but how I am or how I'm behaving or being at this moment in time in comparison to this idealised, created, constructed, who I think I should be, I'm making the now, the me now, wrong. And by doing that, I'm the one that's going to be suffering. So one of the first things that I would invite you to do, especially at this time of year, because of that bombardment of whether it be to do with diet plans or whether it be to do with exercise or whether it be to do with goal setting and changing your life and having these big dreams and these big visions, whatever it may be, is actually ask yourself, are you making, where's the comparison? Are you making yourself wrong with where you are now? And it's not about not having dreams, goals, ambitions, or even looking to change your exercise routine or diet or anything like that. But it is about looking at the intention behind it and where it's coming from. So let me know if that's making sense or has made sense. Because that's the first thing that I want to offer out is for you to look at, how am I describing this? How am I talking about myself to myself? And therefore then looking at how you can do that differently. Caroline says, still a challenge for me to go without any makeup. I get that, Caroline. I get that. I understand. I'm lessening and lessening as time goes by. But yeah, I get that. So I think I just caught a thumb going across there that this is making sense. So I'm going to plough on, mainly because time is ticking on. But one of the other things that I was actually I've talked to a number of clients about this because of it being a new year and people are looking at goal setting and changing things, is looking at how you can make it as accessible for yourself as possible. So, for example, quite often it will be a 30-day challenge or a 21-day challenge, but actually, is that viable for yourself? And does that mean that you are pushing yourself in a way that's coming from a place of fear or even subtle or even strong self-abuse? And could you do something that's far more accessible? Like, I'm just going to do this for the next 7 days. If I do this for the next 7 days and see where I am at the end of that, and then make another commitment for the next 7 days, and then I'm going to do that for the next 7 days, and then I'm going to do it for the next 7 days, and then you can just keep going for as long, but it's only for 7 days. And it's just for these 7 days, this is what I'm going to do. And in the past, I've been able to do 2 years sober. I've done months without certain foods and just cut them out. So I know it can be done, and I'm sure that you can do it too. My invitation is for you to think about whether that's coming from a striving perspective and a forced perspective, and whether you could look at that in a far more self-loving, without sounding too fluffy with it, but a caring, kind way of doing it for yourself. So, right, for the next 7 days, this is what my focus is. And then at the end of that 7 days, review, and then go, okay, for the next 7 days. Because I think all of us can do something for 7 days and then see where we go from there. Jane has said, I am learning to be myself and be kind in the process outside of what others may think or say. Yeah, and, at the end of the day, when it comes to what others think and say, you've only got... We take somebody's figure, for example. Let's take the female figure. Well, it totally depends on who you, or even the male figure, depends on who you talk to as to what, if we asked every woman on here, if they were heterosexual, what their ideal man is, and vice versa with the men, or even just what was your ideal partner, then everyone's going to come up with something different physically. So everyone has a different opinion. Everyone has other thoughts. And ultimately, that kindness has got to come from yourself and not be looking for it from other people. So thank you for that, Jane. And the final thing, so those were the first two things that I really wanted us to think about, which was how am I describing me to me and how can I do that differently? The second thing is to if you are going to be doing, I'm going to make this change, is actually make it shorter commitments and keep reviewing whether it is something that you want to do. And if it's not, give yourself a break and go, do you know what, I'm not doing it. And go back on whatever it was that you were doing, and then you can reassess at another point. But if it's coming from a place of force or self-abuse, then it's not going to be helpful at all. But the final thing, and why I describe this as getting unstuck and getting your life moving, well, the first one really relates to that, interestingly enough, because quite often if I'm describing myself, or the description that I'm using of myself is one that I'm going to have been using for decades. Unless I stop and think about it and challenge it and question it and lovingly, kindly look for another way of describing myself that's helpful and supportive. So that's why we feel like we get stuck, is because actually we're thinking the same thing in the same way over and over and over again and getting the same results and wondering why we're doing that. We have to challenge this internal thinking, which is why I'm offering out the second part of that, of just do it for 7 days. None of this kind of forcing, just do it for 7 days. See what happens. See what happens when you make it that accessible. Or, I know that from the quitting smoking side of things, it's just for today. It's just for today I'm not smoking. Just for today. And then make that recommitment the next morning. But you've got to, whether you do the 7 day or the 1 day, you have got to recommit, but it's only for that period of time. The third thing that I want to offer out is so simple and yet so infrequently done. And at this time of year, it's so pushed around the whole New Year, New You. And that is the fitness campaign side of things and the fitness push. And I think kind of a bit of a wake-up call for me was when somebody said to me, and I can't remember the exact percentage, so I'm going to make up a figure here, I'll be honest, but it was something like 65% of the membership for a gym that is signed up for in January is never used beyond the third week of January. And if everybody, that bought a gym membership actually went, the gyms would be at max capacity and probably wouldn't be able to cope. And B, if people who only bought a membership if they genuinely were going to go, most gyms would close. Because it's the people who say, oh yeah, this is the year, it's going to be different. And they buy the gym membership and they go for 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, and they get bored. Or they realise it's actually not for them, they're not gym bunnies. Or maybe they might be lazy asses, who knows. But if those people didn't buy, then a lot of gyms wouldn't be able to exist. They actually, going back to that not enough conversation we were having earlier, that actually they survive on knowing that people aren't going to show up, which is really quite sad. And at that point, I had a gym membership that I wasn't using, and it really made me stop and think about things. And what I kind of stepped back and looked at was, okay, well, I want to exercise, but what does that mean? And I didn't have I wasn't sporty as a kid, did not like physical education at school. I liked roller skating, and I liked any opportunity to dance. So I started to think about, okay, well, how do I want to move my body? Rather than it being about exercising. And so I would just do things like I'd just chuck some music on and just dance like a nut around the house. Or I'd put some music on and just go for a walk. Or I'd do my usual walk to work, but I would see if I could do it a little bit faster. Or I would just stand in my bedroom and just flail my arms around with no music on, if that's the way that my body wanted to move at that moment in time. And I think very often we get caught at this time of year with exercise having to be a certain way in order to attain a certain kind of body or a certain kind of body shape. And in actual fact, it's more about how does your body like to move? What does it enjoy? What does it need? You know, does it need the beautiful long stretches of a yoga session, for example, because that's what it craves, and you are secretly Elastigirl and that's what you want to do, is being bendy and stretchy all the time? Or are you a water baby that's just like, I want to get in a pool and just swim and paddle around and play? It's so important for us to, I think, to even remove the word exercise and just check in with, how does my body want to move? I've got a friend who used to kind of like walking a bit, so she started walking a little bit more, and now just walks and walks, because for her that is such a way of expressing her body. And she takes people on walks, she'll go on her own, she'll do whatever she needs to. Happy New Year, I nearly said Happy New Year, Jules. Happy New Year, Claire, because I was reading Happy New Year, Jules. But it's about finding the right way for you. I've got a family member who adores being on a bike, so they go off on a bike. I've got another family member who loves running. I've got another family member who loves bouldering, climbing walls. So it's about finding the right way for you. And I think that's what's important. At any point in your life, whenever you think that you're stuck, like physically, mentally, emotionally, then move your body. And it could be as simple as standing up and doing some star jumps. It could be being sat at your desk and doing some stretches. It could be going for a long run. It could be running a marathon, cycling, whatever it may be. But don't do what you think you ought to do in order to attain the perfect body. It's about what does your body, what's going to light your body up in whatever it may be. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. And if you hadn't guessed, by the way, I'm in the office. So what you can hear outside is the Ghost Walk man. Although I'm not sure there's going to be many people outside tonight. It is so cold. No, it doesn't sound like there really is. So Claire says, I love walking and started bar work. It feels so feminine and graceful. I've never done bar work, Claire. I've got a friend who loves doing bar work and she thoroughly enjoys it. Carly, hello Carly. I try to be mindful of giving myself praise for any little bits of movement I do, whether it's dancing down the corridors after the kids have left school or just walking to work. Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact I've just got this vision of you just, throwing yourself around down the corridor. Kids have gone, woohoo! But it is just about moving your body in the way that is right for you and works for you. And yes, there may be times when you want to take it to that nth sweaty kind of point. Great, go for it. And there may be other times when it's not about that, when it is more about the subtle approaches. Neither are right, neither are wrong. It's more just about, I think, about you looking at the intention and the driver behind it. That's what's going to get you unstuck. And I suppose my theme really around being unstuck and getting your life moving is around it not being directed by others. So it not being directed by that Facebook feed that's advertising the next best thing that's going to change this, that and the other, or by that program that says that this is the diet that's going to end all diets because it's amazing. Is doing what is right for you and your needs and where you're coming from with it. Alan says the best exercise is that which you will still enjoy in many months' time rather than what you should do. And Claire says that you're feeling to your intuition. Yeah, both of those, absolutely. Anytime, for me, my rule is anytime there's a should attached internally, and if anyone says it externally, if you know me well, you'll know that I start doing this when there's a should attached, is should actually, the word stems from an Anglo-Saxon word which was originally spelt Scolde and was pronounced schooled. So it was more about scolding somebody into doing something, and therefore it was not a kind way or a loving or caring way of getting people to do something. So anytime there's a should involved, Alan, yeah, not helpful, not helpful. So I'm a little bit later than I anticipated this evening. But what, if anything, can you let me know? What is your takeaway from this evening? Or if you haven't got one specific takeaway, go nuts with the thumbs or the hearts so that I can see whether it has made sense and resonated with you this evening. So what is your one takeaway, Tibby type away, like a crazy lady or man? Or if not, if you'd rather not do that, then give me some thumbs and hearts so I can know that it's made sense. There's some hearts. I love the way, if I sit in the right, it's like they go right across here. There we go. Excellent. That's fantastic. So it's obviously resonated with a number of you, which is fantastic. If there's loads of them now, this is brilliant. If you have a specific topic that you would like covered or for me to bring to the confidence conversation, then please do let me know. You can send me a message direct on here. It is only me that reads them and I do reply. And if you've got a particular topic and I don't use people's names, I may use a first name, for example, Claire, because Claire's name was there. There's lots of hearts and thumbs going across now. This is fabulous. Thank you. But it would be no further than that. So you don't have to worry. It's kept anonymous, basically. And if there's anything else that you would like me to converse about, if you would like to know more about coaching, if you would like to know more about confidence specifically, then please do let me know, and we can schedule that in with the next few confidence conversations, which are back. I don't think there's any plans for them not to be here for the most of January. There may be one I might not be able to make yet. I'm still looking at how I can wangle the diary. But I'm hoping that you have found something of value that you can take from this evening's conversation. Claire says, sorry I missed most of it, but definitely agree that we need to listen to ourselves and don't need to follow others. Be true to yourself. Thanks, Jules. You are more than welcome, Claire. And Shilpi, if I'm saying that correctly, says 7 days of dancing rather than enrolling for gym membership. I'm with you, Shilpi. Wherever you are in the world, I am going to be spiritually dancing with you because dancing is one of my favourite things. So I am grateful for you joining me wherever you've joined me from this evening. And if you're watching the recording, that goes for you as well. It doesn't have to be for the live viewers. And if you are watching the recording, please remember that you can join in. And if you've got any other questions, thoughts or comments that you want to share, then please do. And I will end on that note and just say that I look forward to catching up with you again next week. So in the meantime, absolutely, Joanne, here's to 2018, and who knows what insights and curiosity and passion and magic it might bring this year. And I look forward to speaking to you next week, if not before. Take care. Bye.